There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World. It was called Snow White's Scary Adventures.
She will remind you that she hates Snow White.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
All right, folks, we are just weeks away from what can only be described as one of Disney's most catastrophic misfires yet. Snow White, 2025, starring none other than Rachel Zegler. And let's not kid ourselves, this thing is dead on arrival. Even Disney knows it. They've essentially embraced the reality that this movie is going to be a box office disaster. You can see the writing on the wall when a studio pours an absurd amount of money into a project and then watches in horror as audiences reject it outright. And the rejection? Oh, it's real. Moviegoers aren't just avoiding this film, they're actively boycotting it. Nobody wants to support a Snow White remake headlined by an actress who managed to alienate a massive chunk of the American audience before the movie even hit theaters.
A Disney film with Snow White, a beloved American character, with a woman who hates more than half the country, the half that just elected Donald Trump.
Rachel Zegler, in all her wisdom, decided the best way to promote her film was to shove her political views down everyone's throat, taking a wrecking ball to over half the country in the process. But hold on, it gets worse, because now, it's not just angry fans speaking out. Hollywood itself is starting to turn on Snow White and its insufferable lead.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures.
Enter Bill Maher, of all people. Yes, the guy who usually reserves his rants for politicians has now set his sights on Rachel Zegler and the absolute train wreck that is this film. And trust me, when even Bill Maher starts roasting you, you know you've messed up. Now, here's where things get really interesting. With Snow White set to drop on March 21st, Disney is scrambling to do damage control, trying to salvage what little dignity they have left. But Maher isn't buying it, and neither is anyone else. He's out here pointing out the obvious. Disney is expecting audiences to accept their virtue signaling nonsense while simultaneously pushing a lead actress who insulted over half the country. That's not just bad business, that's outright stupidity. And let's talk about Zegler for a second, because this woman doesn't just have bad takes, she has the worst possible attitude for someone trying to win over an audience. She acts like an entitled theater kid who thinks she's above criticism, prancing around like she's doing the world a favor by starring in this movie. But here's the thing, nobody asked for this. Nobody wanted Snow White to be rewritten as some weird feminist rebellion where the prince is tossed aside and the entire story is warped into some nonsense about saving society. Who is this for? Who was sitting in a boardroom at Disney and thought, hey,
nothing has brought me greater joy than watching the Walt Disney Company absolutely panic over the last few weeks.
You know what would be a great idea? Taking a beloved fairy tale and sucking every ounce of charm and magic out of it while replacing it with a lecture on activism. It's baffling. And Maher isn't the only one calling this out. More and more celebrities and talk show hosts are taking jabs at this disaster, and it's only going to get worse as we inch closer to release. The premiere itself is going to be an awkward nightmare. Rachel Zegler, Gal Gadot, and Andrew Burnap sitting there pretending like they haven't spent the past year watching this movie go down in flames before it even hit theaters.